The evening sky was slowly turning dark as Maya drove her small old car down the quiet road. She felt tired, really tired after a long day of work. Her eyes were heavy, and her mind was full of worries. Bills, rent, school fees, everything was waiting for her. But still she kept going because she had one big reason to stay strong: her 8-year-old son, Sam. Sam sat in the back seat holding his school bag tight. He did not speak much. He could see his mother was stressed and he never liked adding more pressure on her. He loved her too much. Maya looked at him through the mirror and gave a soft smile, even though her heart was heavy. The road was empty. Only the sound of the engine and the soft music on the radio filled the silence. Then suddenly, a loud police siren cut through the air. Maya's heart jumped. Her hands shook on the steering wheel. She looked behind her and saw blue and red lights flashing brightly. At first she thought maybe the police car wanted to pass through. But no. It stayed behind her, following her, and getting closer. She whispered to herself, "Why? Why me? What did I do?" Sam leaned forward, fear in his eyes. "Mom, are we in trouble?" Maya forced a smile. "No, baby. It's okay. Just sit still." But inside she was not okay. Her chest tightened. She slowly pulled the car to the side of the road. The police car stopped right behind her and another one arrived from the other side. 2 cars. 2 sets of lights. 2 sets of officers. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Maya tried to breathe but her mind was racing. She had lived a simple life, worked honestly, cared for her son, paid whatever bills she could. Why were police stopping her? She did nothing. Before she could think more, 2 officers stepped out of the first car. They walked toward her slowly with cold expressions. Their faces showed no kindness, no respect, only suspicion. Maya rolled her window down a little. One officer spoke harshly. "License and registration." His voice was sharp. Not polite. Not normal. Maya nodded quickly and handed them what they asked. She kept her hands visible because she did not want any trouble. Her heart beat faster with every second. The officer looked at her papers, then at her, then at Sam. "Where are you going?" he asked. "Just home," Maya replied quietly. The other officer leaned in closer. "You seem nervous. Why are you nervous?" Maya swallowed hard. "Because you stopped me, and I don't know why." The officers exchanged looks. It was not a good sign. "Step out of the car," one of them ordered. Maya froze. "Is there a problem, officer?" she asked softly. "I said step out," he repeated louder. Sam started crying silently. His small hands gripped the seat tightly. Maya turned to him. "It's okay, baby. Don't cry. Stay inside." "I'll be right here," she said even though her voice shook. She opened the door slowly and stepped out. The cold air hit her skin. She wrapped her arms around herself, trying to stay calm. The officers began searching her car without permission. They looked inside her bags, under the seats, everywhere. Maya felt humiliated. She knew she had nothing wrong in the car. But they searched as if she was a criminal. "Why are you doing this?" she asked softly. The officer replied with a smirk, "Routine check." But Maya knew this didn't feel like a routine check. No one stops a tired mother with a child in 2 police cars for a simple check. As they searched, Maya noticed a neighbor across the street watching. An old man stood at his gate, but he quickly looked away, too scared to get involved. The police kept talking to her like she was guilty. "Where were you before this? Why did you slow down? You look nervous. Are you hiding something?" Each question hit her like a stone. She felt smaller and smaller. Her hands shook. She tried to stand tall but her legs felt weak. She kept looking at Sam. His scared eyes broke her heart. A part of her wanted to scream. Another part wanted to cry. But she stayed silent. She didn't want to make things worse. Then the officer said something that pushed her fear even higher. "We might have to take you to the station for more questions." Maya's blood ran cold. Take her to the station? Leave Sam alone? For what? She had done nothing. Her breathing became fast. She tried to speak but her voice cracked. "Officer, please. I have a child. I didn't do anything." But they didn't care. Maya felt helpless. Truly helpless. Then something came into her mind, someone she never thought she would call. Someone she had not talked to properly in months. Someone whose life was far more dangerous than hers. Her brother. A man with a past that was whispered about. A man people respected and feared. A man who always protected her when they were young, but disappeared into the world of military missions and war. She didn't want to involve him. But tonight, she had no choice. Her hand slipped into her pocket. She quietly took out her phone. Without the officers noticing, she pressed record and whispered one small message. "Brother, I need you. Please come." She sent it. Her heart pounded. Would he hear it? Would he come? Would he even care? Before she could think more, her phone buzzed. A single message appeared. "I'm coming." And that message changed everything. The cold night grew heavier as Maya stood outside her car, trying to keep herself strong. The police officers continued searching every corner of her vehicle. Their movements were fast, rough, and filled with suspicion, as if they already decided she was guilty. Sam sat quietly in the back seat, hugging his backpack tightly. His eyes were full of fear. Every minute felt longer than the last. He kept looking at his mother, hoping she would fix everything like she always did. But tonight, Maya looked scared too, and that scared him even more. One officer slammed the car door shut and walked toward Maya. "We didn't find anything yet," he said in a cold voice. "But your behavior is strange." "My behavior?" Maya whispered. "I'm just scared." Anyone would be scared. The other officer stepped closer, his face only inches away from hers. "You know what scares us?" he said slowly. "People who hide things." Maya stepped back. "I'm not hiding anything." "Then why were you shaking?" he asked. Maya tried to speak, but her words got stuck in her throat. She looked helpless. She looked tired. But mostly, she looked alone. The officers continued questioning her. "Where did you go before this road? Did you meet someone? Do you carry anything illegal? Why is your child so nervous?" Sam heard that and felt tears gather in his eyes. He wasn't nervous because of any crime. He was nervous because the officers were scary. But they did not care about his feelings. One officer opened Maya's purse and checked it without asking. "Hey." Maya protested softly. "That's my personal—" "Quiet," the officer shouted. Maya jumped from the sudden loud voice. She immediately looked at Sam, afraid he would start crying again. But Sam kept silent, biting his lip hard to stay brave. The officers weren't done humiliating her. They asked her to stand near the police car. They walked around her, judging her like she was some dangerous criminal. Maya's heart ached. She lived her life working hard every day with no support, no partner, no family close by. She raised her child alone, struggled alone, cried alone. And today she felt the world was crushing her again. She looked at the ground, trying to hold back tears. One officer crossed his arms. "Maybe we should take you to the station. A single mother like you. That's unusual. No husband. No support. No witnesses." Maya felt her knees weaken. Why were they saying such things? Were they trying to scare her? Or something worse? She slowly looked up. "Please? I have work tomorrow. I have a child. I didn't do anything." The officer smirked. "That's what everyone says." Maya closed her eyes for a moment. She needed strength. She needed courage. She needed someone on her side. And then she remembered the message. The message she had already sent. "I'm coming." Her brother was on his way. But how long would he take? Where was he now? Would he reach before something worse happened? The officers didn't stop. They opened her trunk now, pulling out Sam's school books, Maya's grocery bags, her small emergency toolkit. Everything. They threw things on the ground. "Stop." Maya cried. "Please? Those are my things." The officer pushed her back lightly but firmly. "Stay where you are." Maya stared at the scattered items on the road. She felt like her dignity was also being thrown on the ground. Tears filled her eyes again, but she wiped them quickly. She didn't want her son to see her break. Sam finally whispered, "Mom, I want to go home." "I know, baby," she said softly. "We will. Just be patient." But even she wasn't sure anymore. The officers walked back to her with a new seriousness in their eyes. One of them said, "We are not satisfied. Something feels off." "Nothing is off." Maya replied, her voice shaking. "I work all day. I'm just tired. I have a child. That's it. Please understand." But they didn't want to understand. The other officer said, "We'll run your name in our system. If anything comes up, even a small issue, you're coming with us." Maya felt panic hit her chest again. She never broke the law. She never even argued with anyone. But the fear of what could happen made her lose balance for a moment. She leaned on her car for support. Just then, a cold breeze moved through the street. It felt different. Sharp. Strong. Almost like a warning. The officers paused for a moment, looking around. Maya also felt something. A strange heaviness in the air. A shift. A presence. As if someone powerful was approaching. She tried to hide her hope, but her heart whispered, "Is it him? Is Arav near?" but she saw no car. No man. No sign. The officers got back to their work, but this time they looked slightly uneasy. They didn't know why. But Maya knew exactly why. Her brother was coming. And when he arrived, nothing in this night would stay the same. The wind grew colder as the night deepened. Maya stood near her car, hugging herself to stop the shaking. She tried to stay strong, but every minute with those officers felt like a new attack on her dignity. Her heart kept beating fast, her mind kept asking the same question. Will my brother reach in time? Sam watched his mother through the rear window. His small hands pressed against the glass. He wanted to come out and hug her, but he felt too scared. The bright red and blue police lights kept flashing on his face, making him feel trapped inside a nightmare. One officer came back holding a flashlight, shining it straight at Maya's face. Tell us again, he said in a cold voice. Where were you before we stopped you? Maya blinked from the bright light. I told you. I was coming from work. I work at the grocery shop. The officer moved the light closer. Why were you out so late? My shift ends at 9, she replied quietly. The other officer, standing behind her, spoke in an even sharper tone. And why does your car look like this? Damage. Doesn't look safe. Maya swallowed. It's all I can afford. The first officer shook his head slowly. We don't believe you. Maya felt her stomach twist. She didn't know what else to say. She had already answered everything, but the officers kept twisting her words, making her feel guilty for simply existing. One of them suddenly said, maybe you met someone before coming here. Someone dangerous. No, Maya whispered. Or maybe, the officer continued, you're carrying something for someone. Maya took a step back, horrified. No, I'm not carrying anything. Please stop saying that. The officers looked at each other with suspicious eyes. They weren't confused. They weren't checking. They were enjoying the fear. That is what made Maya's heart sink the most. She tried to stay calm, but her hands were shaking badly now. She kept telling herself, be strong for Sam, be strong for Sam. But how long could she stay strong? Her mind drifted back to the message she sent. The voice recording. The one she whispered with hope and fear mixed together. Brother, I need you. Please come. That message was her last chance. The officer near the car opened the back door suddenly. Sam jumped in fear. Get out, the officer ordered him. Maya ran toward them, but the other officer blocked her path. No. Don't touch my son, she cried. He needs to step out, the officer said, grabbing Sam's arm. Sam looked at his mother with wide, scared eyes. Mom? Maya's voice broke. Please? Leave him alone. He is just a child. The officer smirked. Children learn from their parents. Maya felt her legs weaken. She reached out to hold Sam's hand, but the officer pulled him away. Sam's lips trembled. I didn't do anything. Maya's heart shattered. I know, baby. I know. She turned to the officer. Her voice shook, but she tried to sound brave. Why are you doing this? Why are you treating us like criminals? The officer leaned closer, whispering, because something about you doesn't feel right. Those words hit her like a knife. Her fear grew dangerously high now, so high she could almost feel it choking her. Every part of her wanted to scream, to fight, to protect her son. But she knew if she acted out, they might hurt him more. So she forced herself to stay calm, even though she felt like breaking into pieces. Suddenly, the officer's radio crackled. Some voice spoke quickly. Maya could not hear the words. Both officers stopped. They exchanged serious looks. Something had changed. Maya didn't know what was happening, but she felt a cold wave run through her spine. Were they planning something worse? Or had someone reported her? Her breath became heavier. The officers turned back to her with new intensity. We're taking you to the station, one said firmly. Maya's eyes widened. No, please. I didn't do anything. Don't separate me from my child. We decide that, the officer said. Maya felt her whole world crashing. She tried to reach Sam, but the officers pulled her back. Sam cried loudly now, Mom, don't go. Maya shook her head desperately. Please don't do this. I beg you. Don't take me away. I have a child. I did nothing wrong. But the officers didn't listen. Her desperation grew so strong that her body could not hold it anymore. Tears streamed down her face. Her voice cracked as she whispered to herself, Arif, where are you? Please, hurry. And then suddenly, her phone buzzed. A small vibration. Barely noticeable. Maya quickly looked down. A notification. One single line. 5 minutes. Her heart raced. 5 minutes? Was her brother that close? Was he really coming? The officers did not notice the message. They were too busy pulling Maya toward the police car. Sam screamed louder, kicking and crying, trying to reach his mother. Maya looked around in panic. She saw no one. No sign of rescue. Just the dark road, the flashing lights, and two officers who seemed hungry for power. But deep inside her heart, a small hope grew. Her brother was coming. And he was near. Very near. The officers didn't know it. Sam didn't know it. But Maya felt it. Something strong, something fierce was heading their way. And when it arrived, the night would change forever. The street felt colder and darker than before. Maya's breath came out in short, shaky gasps as the officers pulled her toward the police car. Her wrists hurt from their tight grip, and her heart felt like it would burst. Sam was screaming behind her. "Mom, don't take her. Please don't take my mom." The officers ignored him. Maya's tears fell nonstop. She couldn't even wipe them because her hands were trapped. She kept thinking only one thing. "Arav, please reach in time." Her phone buzzed again inside her pocket. She couldn't reach it, but she knew it was him. The timing felt too perfect, too sharp, like he was watching everything from a distance. But she still saw no car. No man. No sign of help. The officers reached for the back door of their police vehicle. "Get inside," one officer ordered coldly. Maya shook her head wildly. "Please? I didn't do anything. Don't take me away. My son needs me." "We'll deal with him later," the officer replied without emotion. Those words broke her. She cried loudly, "Sam, listen to me. Stay strong. I will come back." Sam struggled against the officer holding him. Tears rolled down his cheeks and his small voice cracked with fear. "No, Mom. Don't go. Don't leave me." Maya tried to reach him, but she couldn't. Her whole body felt weak with helplessness. She wished she was strong enough to fight these men, strong enough to protect her child. But tonight she was alone, or at least she thought she was. Suddenly, thump. A loud, heavy sound echoed from somewhere down the road. The officers froze. Maya looked up quickly, hope flashing in her eyes. What was that? A car door? A step? Someone approaching? One officer turned his head toward the sound. "Did you hear that?" The second officer nodded slowly. "Yeah, someone's here." Maya's heart pounded with life again. The officers straightened, their hands moving toward their weapons. Their eyes scanned the dark street, trying to find the source of the noise. The air changed, became thicker, heavier, as if danger itself had arrived. And Maya knew that feeling. She knew it very well. It was him. The officer holding Sam pushed him roughly toward the car. "Stay here, kid." Sam fell to the ground, but he quickly crawled back to his feet, crying harder. The officer stepped away from Maya and walked toward the sound slowly, cautiously. Maya whispered under her breath, "Arav, please be here." Another sound came. This time clearer. Firm footsteps. Not running, but walking with confidence. The kind of walk only a man with power and training could have. The officers shouted, "Who's there? Show yourself." Silence. Then a voice, deep, calm, controlled, came from the shadows. "Let my sister go." Maya's body froze. Her heart stopped for a second. It was him. It was really him. The officers pointed their flashlights toward the dark corner of the street. The lights shook slightly in their hands, showing their sudden worry. From the shadows, a tall figure stepped forward. Slowly, steadily, like he feared nothing in this world. Maya could finally see him clearly now. Her brother. His face was calm but sharp. His eyes were cold, focused, dangerous. He wore dark clothes, boots heavy with dust, and a jacket that looked military. His presence alone made the entire street feel different, like danger walked beside him. The officers immediately stiffened. One of them took a step back. "You?" the officer whispered in shock. Arav didn't blink. He didn't raise his voice. He simply spoke again. "Release Maya." The officer closest to him swallowed hard. "What are you doing here? This is police business." Arav walked closer, his eyes never leaving them. "Police business should be honest business," he said. "What you are doing is not." The second officer tried to sound strong, but his voice shook. "She resisted our orders. We have the right." Arav cut him off. "No. What you have is fear. That is why you behave like this." Maya stared at her brother with tears streaming down her face. She couldn't speak. Her voice was lost in shock and relief. The officers exchanged nervous looks. They knew who he was. They knew his reputation. Arav took one more step. His presence felt like a storm approaching. Let her go, he repeated softly. But this soft tone held more threat than any loud shout. The officer holding Maya loosened his grip without even realizing. He stepped back quickly. Arav turned his eyes toward Sam, who ran forward crying, "Mama?" Arav stopped him gently, placing a protective hand on his shoulder. "You're safe now," he said. Sam looked up at him through tears, feeling safe for the first time tonight. Arav then looked back at the officers, his eyes sharper than knives. "You touched my family," he said quietly. "You made a mistake." The officers stepped back again, fear swallowing their confidence. Maya felt her knees weaken. She wanted to run to her brother, but she stood still, shocked at how fast everything had changed. One message, one call, one voice, and her world shifted. Arav had arrived. And the night was no longer in the police officer's control. The street felt completely different now. Just moments ago, Maya was shaking with fear, begging the officers to stop. But now, everything was silent. Heavy. Almost frozen. Because Arav was here. He stood between Maya and the officers like a solid wall, calm, strong, and completely unafraid. His presence alone was enough to change the atmosphere. The flashing police lights reflected off his serious face, making him look even more intimidating. Sam grabbed Arav's leg tightly, hiding behind him like a frightened kitten. Arav placed a gentle hand on the boy's head, comforting him without taking his eyes off the officers. One of the officers cleared his throat nervously. "We warned you. This is a police matter," he said, but his voice was shaky. "You cannot interfere." Arav took one slow step forward. "I was not interfering," he replied in a cold, controlled tone. "I was watching how you treat my family." The officers stiffened. They knew his face. They knew the stories. They knew what he used to be, a man from special units, a soldier trained for impossible missions. A man people whispered about. A man with a reputation that made even criminals step away. And now he stood in front of them. The first officer tried to regain confidence. "Your sister was acting suspicious. We have the right to investigate." Arav's voice was so calm that it made the officers more nervous. Screaming at a single mother, dragging her child, searching her things without reason, is that how you investigate? The officer flinched. She looked nervous. "Of course she was nervous," Arav replied. "You were threatening her." Maya stood behind him, wiping her tears. She couldn't believe this was the same brother she used to protect when they were kids. Now he was the one protecting her, standing tall like a shield between her and danger. Arav slowly walked closer to the officers. His boots made soft but powerful sounds on the road. Step, step, step. Every step increased their fear. "Let's make one thing clear," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "My sister is innocent. She works all day. She takes care of her son alone. She doesn't deserve this." The officer tried to say something, but Arav cut him off with a sharp glance. "Look at her," Arav said, raising his hand toward Maya. "Does she look like a criminal to you?" Maya stood silently, still trembling. "Or does she look like someone you thought you could scare easily?" Arav added. The officer swallowed hard. "No one is scared here." Arav raised an eyebrow. "Really?" He stepped even closer, now only a few feet away from them. The officer quickly stepped back. His fear was written all over his face. Arav didn't smile. He didn't shout. He simply watched them with a cold, unblinking stare. "That's what I thought," he said quietly. Sam peeked from behind Arav's legs. He had never seen his uncle like this. He had only heard stories, big, unbelievable stories about missions, trainings, and bravery. But tonight he saw the truth. Arav was not just brave. He was powerful. Arav turned slightly toward Maya. His voice softened just a little. "Are you okay?" Maya could barely speak. I'm fine now." That one line made Arav's jaw tighten. He turned back to the officers. "You made her cry," he said. "And that is something I do not forgive easily." The officers froze. Arav took another step. The street felt smaller now, like all the space belonged to him. "You want to take her to the station?" Arav asked. The officer shook his head quickly. No. We were just checking." "Then your check is finished," Arav replied. "You will now return her things, all of them." The officers hurried to the ground where they had thrown Maya's belongings. They picked up her bags, books, and purse with shaking hands. They placed everything gently on the car seat, suddenly respectful. Arav watched them like a hawk. "Now apologize," he said. The officers looked shocked. "What?" one of them whispered. Arav stepped closer. "I didn't stutter." The officers looked at Maya, then at Arav. They knew they had no choice. "We're sorry," one officer said. "Say it properly," Arav demanded. The officer took a deep breath. "Ma'am, we are sorry for the trouble." Maya nodded slowly, still stunned by everything happening. Arav didn't smile. He didn't relax. He simply said, "Leave." The officers didn't argue. They walked quickly to their vehicles, trying not to look back. They started the engines and drove away fast, disappearing down the dark street. The moment the police cars vanished, the street fell silent again. Arav finally turned around and faced Maya completely. Her eyes filled with tears, this time from relief, not fear. She stepped forward and hugged him tightly. Thank you, Arav. I thought they would take me away." Arav wrapped an arm around her shoulders gently. "You're safe now," he said. Sam hugged both of them, crying softly. Arav knelt down, holding Sam's face with both hands. "No one will touch your mother again," he promised. And the night, which once felt full of danger, now felt safe, all because Arav had arrived. For a few minutes, the street stayed quiet. Maya held Sam close, her heart finally slowing down. Arav stood beside them, calm but alert, scanning the road like he expected something else to happen. Maya looked up at him. "You came at the right time," she whispered. Arav nodded slightly. "I felt something was wrong. Your phone went silent. You never ignore my calls." She sighed. "They surrounded me so fast. I didn't know what to do." Arav placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "You did nothing wrong. Remember that." They walked toward Maya's small car. Sam held his uncle's hand tightly. He still looked scared, but his eyes were filled with admiration. But just as Arav opened the car door for Maya, he paused. He felt it. A strange tension in the air. A presence. Someone was watching them. Maya noticed his expression. "What happened?" Arav didn't answer. He slowly turned his head and scanned the rooftops, the alley, the parked cars. His instincts were rarely wrong. Something, or someone, was out there. He whispered, "Get in the car. Both of you." Maya's worry returned instantly. "Arav?" "Do it," he said gently but firmly. Maya nodded and placed Sam inside the back seat. She was about to climb in herself when she heard something. A soft metallic click. Arav heard it too. He pushed Maya down gently behind the car door and stepped forward. The shadows across the street shifted. A man emerged from behind a dark SUV. He was tall, dressed in black, with gloves on his hands. His face was hidden under a hood. But the thing that made Maya's blood freeze was the long metal pipe he carried, or maybe something worse. She couldn't see clearly. Arav saw everything clearly. He stepped forward, shielding Maya and Sam behind him. The man stopped in the middle of the road. "Arav Rana," the stranger said in a low voice. "You are difficult to find." Maya's heart jumped. They knew him? Arav's expression didn't change. "And you are stupid to come here." The man chuckled softly. "Your reputation. I always wondered if it was true." Arav clenched his jaw. "You followed the police, didn't you? You were watching." "Of course," the man replied. "I needed to see how you react. And I must say, you didn't disappoint." Arav took a slow breath. "What do you want?" The man raised the metal pipe, and in the streetlight, it glinted like a weapon. "Your past," he said. "Your secrets. Your skills. My boss wants them." Arav's muscles tensed. He moved slightly sideways to block Maya and Sam from the man's view. Maya grabbed Sam's hand tightly. "Arav, please." Arav raised a hand behind him, calming her silently. The man continued, "You disappeared. No mission. No trail. People say you vanished like a ghost. But we found you. And we want you back." Arav shook his head slowly. "That life is over." The man tilted his head. "Then you should not have protected your sister tonight." Arav's eyes darkened. The man smirked. "Now we know your weakness." Those words made Arav step forward like a storm. "You made a mistake," Arav said in a dangerous whisper. "A very big mistake." The man lifted the metal weapon and pointed it toward Maya's car. "No. You made the mistake. You showed us what you care about." Maya gasped softly. Arav's entire body changed. He was no longer calm. He was a soldier again. A silent, deadly one. He took one step forward. The man took one step back. Even he felt fear. Arav's voice was cold as ice. "If you come near my family again, you won't walk away." The man hesitated. "You cannot fight us all, Arav. You know who we are. You know what we can do." Arav took another step. "I don't care who you are." The man tightened his grip on his weapon. "Then this will be fun." Suddenly, a second shadow moved behind the SUV. Another man. Maya gasped. There's two of them. Arv didn't turn. I know. Sam cried softly, Uncle? Arv spoke without looking back. Sam, stay low. Don't look. His voice was soft, yet filled with a cold promise. The first man smirked. You are alone, Arv. You can't protect them forever. Arv finally smiled, but it wasn't a warm smile. It was the smile of a man who had survived wars. A man who had defeated monsters. You're right, he said. I'm alone. He raised his fist slowly. But that is enough. The two strangers tensed. The street turned silent again. The storm was coming. A deadly one. The street felt like it stopped breathing. Two dangerous men stood in front of Arv. Behind him, Maya and little Sam hid inside the car, holding each other tightly. Maya's hands were shaking. Sam's heart beat so fast he could hear it in his ears. Arv took one slow breath. He didn't want violence. He didn't want his old life back. But he knew one thing clearly. If he didn't fight tonight, his sister and nephew would never be safe. The first man stepped closer. The second one moved to the side, trying to surround Arv. Arv's voice was calm, almost gentle. Last chance. Leave. The first man laughed. We didn't come this far to walk away. Arv nodded once. Then everything happened fast. The first man rushed forward with his metal weapon. Arv moved like lightning, smooth, sharp, controlled. He dodged the strike and grabbed the man's arm, twisting it with expert precision. A painful crack echoed through the quiet street. The man screamed and dropped the weapon. Before he hit the ground, Arv kicked him in the chest. The man flew backward and crashed against the SUV, unconscious. Maya gasped loudly. Even she didn't know Arv was this fast, this powerful. But there was no time to breathe. The second man charged from behind. Arv spun quickly and blocked the attack. The man swung another weapon, but Arv grabbed his wrist and pushed him to the ground. The man tried to stand, but Arv kicked the weapon away and pinned him with one knee. Who sent you? Arv asked. The man spit angrily. You already know. Arv tightened his grip. Tell me. The man growled. They want you back. They want your skills. You're the best soldier they ever had. And they will not stop. Arv's expression hardened. He knew the answer was true. He had tried to disappear. He had tried to live a normal life. But his past, his reputation, his enemies, they were still watching, still waiting, still hunting. Arv finally released the man and stood. Go back and tell them, he said quietly, if anything happens to my family, I will come for them. The man staggered to his feet, holding his injured shoulder. You're making war with the wrong people. Arv's voice was ice. No. They are making war with the wrong brother. The man glared at him but backed away. He picked up the unconscious man, dragged him toward their SUV and drove off into the night, fast, scared, and defeated. For a long moment, the street fell silent again. Only the sound of Maya's trembling breath broke the air. Arv walked to the car and opened the door gently. Maya threw her arms around him, crying into his shoulder. Arv, what was that? Who were those men? Why did they come? Arv held her tightly, rubbing her back to calm her. They came because of me. My old life. My old enemies. Sam peeked over Maya's arm with wide, scared eyes. Uncle, are they going to come back? Arv knelt down in front of him and brushed his hair softly. No, Sam. Not while I'm here. And I'm not going anywhere. Maya wiped her tears. Arv, I didn't know you were living with something like this. I just thought you left the army because you were tired. Arv nodded slowly. Yes, tired and broken. I wanted peace. I wanted a normal life. I wanted to forget who I used to be. He looked at Sam and then Maya. And I wanted to protect the only family I have. Maya touched his cheek gently. You always protected us. But this, what happened tonight, it scares me. I know. Arv sighed. But now I know they haven't stopped watching. They were waiting for a moment when I was vulnerable. When I cared for someone. And they saw it tonight. Maya looked worried. So what will you do? Arv stood tall again. The calm soldier inside him had awakened, stronger and clearer than ever. I will prepare, he said. I will make sure they cannot reach you. And if they try... He looked down the dark road where the men had escaped. I will end this. Maya looked at him with a mix of fear and pride. You're not alone, Arv. Arv smiled gently. I know. That is why I will win. He helped her into the car and closed the door softly. Sam watched him with shining eyes, like he was looking at a hero. As Arv walked around to the driver's side, he looked up at the night sky. The stars were hidden behind thick clouds. he whispered to himself. You want war? Then you will see what a soldier really is. He got inside the car, started the engine and drove away with his family. Behind them, in the shadows, a pair of eyes continued to watch, and a voice whispered through a hidden speaker. He's back. The game wasn't over. But Arav was ready. More ready than ever before.